Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is Andy Nguyen, and I believe we finally reached peak Prebuilt. Of course, it's not custom, but it has some custom features. Before we get started, this showcase is sponsored by Iqunix. They make this keyboard. Thanks for sponsoring. My opinions are always my own, and I do not get to see the video before it goes live. Let's get into it. Hear me out. I know y'all writing in the comments already, Andy's a shill, he sold out. Customers vary from kind of people getting into the hobby, people who have been in the hobby a little bit, and people who buy specific keyboards that are themed after fast food restaurants. This right here is for beginners. It is $149 to $199. Depending on your configuration, but honestly, this board does not need any modification. We have already talked about the Keychron Q1 as well as the GMMK Pro, and those needed a heavy modification to kind of sound good. In the stock form, although it was aluminum, and although it was gasket mount, it sounded a little bit hollow, it sounded a bit tinny. This board right here, it's a stock plastic keyboard. Plastic ain't always bad. Although it feels light in the hand, I can't really do any bicep curls with this keyboard. Right now I have alpacas in here. And those are stock stabilizers. No modifications, no tuning, no extra grease. From the factory, that's how it sounds. I'll also include a sound test real quick of the TTC Pinks, which are surprisingly clacky, surprisingly smooth, with no spring ping in the stock condition. Alpaca? That's crazy. I don't care if you're an enthusiast, I don't care if you're a beginner. A stock switch that sounds that good. So let's go into the build quality. The board is plastic, knock test. It's not that solid, but it's not hollow, not creaky. Okay, I lied, there's a little creak, but hey, who's doing the bend test with the keyboard? And the build quality itself lends itself to never being opened because you need to shim it, you need to take off this back sticker, so really, it's a good thing that they made sure that you did not need to mod it. The look of this board is where some people may decide not to get it. It is space themed, evident by the theme Cosmic Traveler Space. It is a 75% keyboard. They call it 80%, but really it's a 75%. The layout is a little bit weird considering the F row is non-standard. It has all the F keys you may need for gaming. You just gotta remember where they are. There's no stagger like on a TKL. The aesthetic of it is a little kiddie for me. I loved space. I wanted to be an astronaut when I was younger, but I don't know if I want that theme all over my keycaps. They are PPT keycaps, and I feel like the legending is pretty consistent, pretty solid, and there's novelties to make it a little bit interesting. Right now I have the all white variant of keycaps. There's also blue novelties to make it pop a little bit. Overall, this is a pretty loud looking keyboard. There's ridges right here that do really nothing. It's just an aesthetic thing. And there is lime right here. The feel of the keyboard seems to be some kind of tray mount. It's not a flexible, it's not a gasket experience. It's not gonna be bouncy, it's gonna be pretty stiff. And that's typically what you get out of these cheaper pre-builds. You may have some inconsistency in the typing experience depending on where the standoffs are. Closer to the standoff, it's gonna be a little bit stiffer, it's gonna be a little bit deeper in sound. The PPT keycaps are smooth, there's no texture on them. The sound of this keyboard blew me away. I gave you a little bit of a preview earlier. Let's roll a full sound test and comparison between alpacas and TTC Gold Pinks. The alpacas are lubed and filmed. The TTC Gold Pinks are actually an option that you can buy with, and it's straight from the factory. Like I mentioned before, this keyboard is really not meant to be taken apart. It's really difficult. You gotta get a little wedge in there to try to split it apart. There's a lot of screws, and there are a few hidden screws underneath the sticker on the back. And if you take it apart, it's just going to look naked. I would not buy this keyboard if you're planning on modding it. If you want to mod a keyboard, consider getting a Keychron Q1 or a GMMK Pro, or a Tofu or any other custom. Here, this is more to grab it and go and be done. It is hot swap, it has a proper orientation of switches, so you can put in any MX style switch and you can put on any chair profile keycaps and won't have an issue. The stabilizers are plate mount, so I think you can take it apart, but they're pretty good stock that I don't think you really want to. The price that you're paying is a little bit of premium to get everything in all one package, and I think it's meant for someone that just wants an all-in-one. Grab it, go, get using it, and spend more time and money on other hobbies. But for the sake of science, let's take a look at the inside.
Yeah, I know, we're back here again. I'm breaking keyboards. Here, I'm using my nails to just split it apart, and after a while and damaging it, I finally revealed that this is indeed case foamed and tray mounted.
So my final thoughts on this keyboard. This is $149 to $199, and it depends on whether or not you get the backlight and what switches you get. For the TTC Gold Pinks that I raved about, it is $169, so $20 more than the cheapest option. Do I recommend it? I do recommend it for someone who just wants a keyboard that sounds and feels good with F keys and arrow keys. There is a market for that, and I know there's a market because they ask me all the time. You don't have to wait for a GMK group buy, you don't have to buy switches, you don't have to lube switches, you don't have to buy all those parts. It's hot swappable, ready to go, and it gives you a little bit of flexibility to try out new switches. It really doesn't compete with the cheaper bare bones options like the Keychron Q1 and the GMMK Pro. This is intended to be a different market. It has a very striking look. It's not very neutral. It's meant to grab, go, use, and enjoy. In terms of keyboard, it doesn't have any hollowness, it doesn't have any scratchiness, it doesn't have any ticking, any rattle in the stabilizers. So I think it's pretty solid, and I think there's a market for it, and I would recommend it for someone who just wants to get a keyboard. And the things I don't like about it are the keycap legending and the theme. It's just not up my alley because I like something a little bit more minimal. It is a plastic keyboard, but it's hefty enough. And I don't like the non-standard F row. You may not care, so if you're that person, consider buying this keyboard. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.